Okay, well, good morning. So let's get started. So just having a couple of blocks. There's my blocks over there. And we're going to start sitting in Sukhasana with the crossed legs. Ah. And then using those arms along the side, leaning back, lengthening up, or it's always an option, even though I don't say it. Sometimes maybe it feels better to get that feeling of lift and extend by holding on to your knees. So that's another option. Or if you don't want to be putting the weight on your wrists there, that's another option, is holding the knees. Anyway, here we are, lifting a little bit out of the hip joints, making space between the vertebrae, doing whatever squinging and shifting you want to do. All right, and then finishing with that. Landing on those sitting bones, hands on the knees. Inhale and exhale, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders. Pouring up through the center line, out the top of the head. You can soften or close your eyes. Inhale and exhale, letting go of the rest of the day. Slowing things down, letting the breath get a little deeper, a little longer. And then let's reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing the arms up. Inhale and exhale, breathing them down. Let's do that once more. And then we'll breathe up through the right arm, side bending over to the left. And feeling that left shoulder blade doing a little bit of a press forward. Right shoulder doing a little bit of a pull back. And a big inhale, reaching a little more through the right arm, and exhale, reaching long on the left diagonal. Pulling back and down with that right sitting bone. Breathing here on the diagonal. And coming to the center forward. Coming up, unfurling the spine vertebrae by vertebrae back up on top of the sitting bones. Changing the cross of the legs. Let's reach out wide. We'll breathe both arms up and down once. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Then breathing out through the left arm, up and over, side bending to the right. And a little feeling of that right shoulder blade pressing forward, the left shoulder pulling back. And then letting that action travel out through the left arm, reaching that open a little bit more with a big inhale. Exhale, reaching long on the diagonal right. And then pulling down and back through the left sitting bone. And to the center forward. Breathing and evening out the two sides. And then coming up, unfurling that spine vertebrae by vertebrae back up on top of the sitting bone. And then let's make our way down to the floor with a block under the shoulders. And we will start in Supta Baddha Konasana. Soles of the feet together, knees out to the side. And then making your way onto the block, under the upper back. Pouring out through the inner thighs, through the knees, maybe using the hands behind the head. Give a little length and out and over. Inhaling into the front of the body, exhale, melting off the block. You can have the arms for the moment in any position you want. Maybe extending them overhead, maybe wide to the side or alongside, or the fingers still interlocked behind the head. And then let's slide our legs out to straight here.
flexing the feet, turning the toes up to the ceiling, reaching through the heels, flattening the backs of the legs into the floor. And interlocking the fingers, turning the palms up to the ceiling. And then if it's all right for your shoulders, reaching those arms up overhead or down overhead, actually from here. Resting out through the base of the wrist, long through the heels. So if this doesn't work for your arms and shoulders, you don't need to do it, or else you could come off the block and do it lying flat along the floor. Taking a few breaths here. And then we'll release the arms and making your way up to sitting. And then here we are in Dandasana with the legs straight out in front, and we'll continue coming forward. So taking your time, we're now going in the opposite direction, easing your way forward and over. Breathing into the back of the body. And up. Here we are with our legs in Dandasana. So I'm going to go back to being a right-left mirror. And then bringing those legs back to Baddha Konasana. Taking a short forward here, pressing down and out with the elbows. And then we're going to go to Vajrasana, the twist. So we'll bring our arms behind. You can even lean back a little on the arms. I'm going to bring the left arm and the left knee up and over, bringing that left hand down to the right knee. The left ankle is in the arch of the right foot. And then we're twisting to the right. And then reaching up with the left arm and reaching up and open back to Baddha Konasana. Like I said, you can lean back on the arms, give yourself a little lift, and then we'll go to the other side. Reaching up with the right arm, bringing that right leg up and over. That right hand goes to the left knee, right ankle in the arch of the left foot. Twisting to the left. That was a lot of left and rightness. I think I said it right, but I'm still confused. Anyway, here we are, twisting to the other side. And then reaching up with that right arm. Back to the Baddha Konasana. And let's do that once more each side. Left sides come up and over and into the twist to the right. And left side up and open, back to Baddha Konasana. And then right sides come up and over into Vajrasana, into the twist left. And then right sides lift up back to Baddha Konasana. And then bring the hands forward, getting hold of the ankles or shins again, doing a little forward bend, pressing down and out with the elbows. And coming up, sliding those legs back out to Dandasana. Coming forward, Paschimottanasana. And coming up, pulling those legs back to Baddha Konasana. Just take a breath or two, lengthening up. And then we're going to extend the legs out into Konasana, the angle pose. Coming forward and over any amount. And grounding those sitting bones down, grounding the thighs down so that we're standing on our sitting bones. Let's reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips, breathing both arms up. Inhale and exhale, breathing them down. Then we'll breathe up through the right arm, side bend over to the left, and feeling that pull the right shoulder back, press the left shoulder a little forward. So we put the twisting action in there too, a twisting to the rightness. Reaching out through the right inner thigh, out the heel in the opposite direction. And a big lift back up to the center. And then we'll breathe out through the left arm, lifting up and over, side bending over the right leg. And then pulling that left shoulder a little back, resting the right shoulder blade a little forward, getting that twisting to the leftness. And finding that left leg reaching away. And then coming back up long through the top of the head. And let's breathe both arms up and down again. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And assembling those legs in. And we will make our way up to downward facing dog. And maybe a little dog walking or whatever else you want to do. Already got some nice extension in our hamstrings and the back of the legs. That dog walking will warm up the feet and ankles a little more too. And then finishing with whatever you're doing to be in the best downward facing dog of this moment, nothing moving but the breath. Coming down, taking a pull back into child's pose just for a breath or two. And then we'll slide ourselves forward into the Sphinx. Pulling back with the sides of the body center line forward, flattening the front of the hip joints into the floor. Maybe imagining there's a block on the sacrum and we're doing the stretch over the block. And then we're going to bend one leg at a time. So really reach long through the toes, bending the right leg. Reaching out through the front of the right thigh, out the knee. And then extending that right leg long. Reaching through both legs, bend the left leg. So the right leg keeps reaching long. And then reaching out through the left knee. And extending the left leg out. Let's do that again. Right, reaching long, bending the leg, but we're still reaching long even as we pull that right heel toward the shoulder. And extending the right leg out. Reaching long, bending the left leg, squeezing in and reaching long. And extending that left leg out. All right, then both legs. And extending the both legs out. Maybe there's a little more lift in the front of the body. And let's come down, forehead or chin on the hands, taking a couple breaths. Letting the back of the body soften and release. With any tension in the face, the jaws, the shoulders, letting that go. And then we will expand ourselves back up to downward facing dog. A couple of ripples along the way. And then there we are, downward facing dog. And going through the vinyasa, any version you want, forward to the plank, some kind of chaturanga or not, and upward facing dog, or maybe the cobra, or even the Sphinx again for a couple breaths, and then downward facing dog. And we will lift the right leg up, reaching down through the left heel. Bending the right knee dog at the high fire hydrant. And through to the lunge. And easing that left knee down to the floor to come up in Jayasana. Up the front core and down the back. With that tailbone pressing forward as the upper half of the body goes up and back. And then we'll twist to the right, arms parallel to the floor, just pausing a moment there. Hooking the left arm over the right outer leg, pause a moment there. And then continuing right hand around to Namaste. And then Namaste in the center. And let's step forward. And then into the concave back, inhale, extending out, maybe lingering an extra breath there, really reaching long. And exhale, pouring back over the ribs. Coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Pressing the arms down, long through the top of the head. And we'll circle the shoulders, 3, 2, 1. And other direction. One more front to the back, interlocking the fingers, lifting the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. And coming forward and over, pressing out through the hands. And releasing the hands. Concave back, inhale and exhale. Stepping back with the left leg. And then let's turn to the elephant rider. Pressing both knees out. And then up into the three-pointed star, rotating the thigh bones into the hip joints. And then we're going to reach the arms to parallel, turn the feet to parallel. Pulling in the lower abdomen like you're drawing your pubic bone and tailbone together. And then we'll rotate our right leg out 90 degrees. And into the warrior number 2. Inner thigh to inner knee to center of the foot. And then let's breathe both arms up and down here. Inhale and exhale, arms come up. Inhale and exhale, coming down. You can let them come all the way down. And then we'll breathe up just through the right arm into the dancing warrior. Pressing the right, let's see, you're pulling the right shoulder. Well, no, you're not. Never mind all that shoulder stuff. Going to be a little different for all of us, with shoulders pressing forward and back. So let's go into the triangle. Tilting over, straightening up the right leg. So when we're doing that dancing warrior, we all have a little bit of a tendency to be a little forward of the side bend, or a little behind the side bend somewhere. So it's not really going to be consistent about pressing the shoulders like it was in the other shapes. Couple more breaths here. And then lunging down. Step back to the plank. Through the vinyasa, any version. Downward facing dog. And then we will go around on the other side, lifting the left leg up. Bending the knee dog at the high fire height. And through to the lunge. And then we'll ease that right knee down. Coming up in Jayasana, the kneeling lunge. And then making our way very deliberately into the twist. Twisting left arms parallel to the floor. Hooking the left arm over, the right arm over, and then around to Namaste. And Namaste in the center. Stepping forward. And into the concave back. Expanding out. And pouring over. Breath or two here in the forward bend. Coming up to standing, big front body. Pressing those arms down long through the top of the head. Circling the shoulders to interlock the fingers. Lengthening up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. And coming forward and releasing the hands. And then we'll step back with the right leg. Coming to the elephant rider. The reason it's different with the shoulder pressing with a little twisting action in the side bend when we're standing is when we're standing, all our hips are just a little bit different. They're not perfectly squared up on the floor when we're sitting with our legs. That floor is holding us all in more or less the same relative alignment with our legs and hips and things. And when we're doing the warrior two and the triangle and all, in theory, we've got that same symmetry like in Konasana, the angle pose, or for instance here, but we don't really because our hips are a little uneven, the back leg is in kind of a funny position, and so it's going to be a little different. Anyway, here we go. Come up into the three-pointed star. Pressing the arms wide, turning the feet to parallel. Taking a few breaths here. Trying to really draw in at the lower abdomen. And then we'll rotate the left leg out 90 degrees. Yeah, so in theory here, as we go into the warrior two, our hips are perfectly square to the side. For most of us, that's not true. For most of us, the hips have a slight turn toward the front leg. We're countering that with a little pull of the back leg, but not so much that our knee comes past our big toe. That knee tracking is more important. That right back leg hip is opening as much as it can, but not forcing it. So, like I said, realistically, most of us are kind of here. And then depending on our flexibility in the upper body, we do different little things there relative to that. Anyway, here we are, being as wide and flat between two walls as we can. And let's breathe both arms up overhead with our illusion of perfect symmetry on our right and left sides of the torso and hips. Breathing the arms down, breathing that left arm up and away. And then into the triangle, inhale and exhale, tilting over. Similar thing here, though. In general, there are probably more people who need to pull the right shoulder back and press the left shoulder forward here. That's probably a little bit more common, but we don't want to do that action at the expense of our left hip. We need a little out to the left side, so we press the left hip forward against that. And then coming down to the lunge, stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa, any version. And then downward facing dog. 3 deep breaths here in downward facing dog. And then sitting back in child's pose. And once again, sliding out to the Sphinx. Pulling back with the elbows. Pulling back with the whole lower arm. With the inner wrist, with the hand. Reaching back through the legs. And then reaching long through both legs. Let's bend that right leg again. This time we'll go for the one-legged bow pose. So you can swivel your left hand in toward the center. So our left lower arms are diagonal as you reach back for the right foot. Either take the hand inside or outside, whichever works better. If you need to come down lower in the upper body, go ahead. Try to square your shoulders front. So here we are, all pressing our right shoulder forward, pulling our left back a little, and lengthen to lift any amount, especially if you're still up on the forearm. You probably won't lift that right leg very much off the floor. And then bringing the right leg down. Getting recenter. Bending the left leg. Letting that right lower arm swivel, hand to the center. Reaching back with the left arm. It might be easier here to get the inside of the foot, or you can get the outside. And then we're trying to square the shoulders to the front, pulling the right shoulder back, the left a little forward, as we lengthen to lift. Not expecting too much lift if you're still up high on the forearm. And breathing here, half boat pose. And then bring that left leg down. Ah, coming down for a moment, forehead on hands. And then we'll come up and bow pose. Should be no surprise. And actually, bow poses and full bow poses in some ways easier, bending both legs. So maybe this is your bow pose for today. Maybe the one with the interlocked fingers are getting hold of those ankles and lengthen to lift. And coming down. Ah. And let us peel ourselves back up to downward facing dog with a little cat and cow rippling along the way. Whew, we were there for a while on our belly, maybe a little more cat and cow than usual. And then here we all are, downward facing dog, doing that nice counter posing of downward facing dog to a lot of back bends. All right, and then going through the vinyasa or not, I'm going to do the or not myself. And then here we all are in downward facing dog, lifting our right leg up. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrants. Through to the lunge. And we'll go to the elephant rider. And then 3 pointed stars, straightening up, reaching up through the fingertips, doing that little extra lower abdominal muscles, tailbone and pubic bone squeezing together. Pressing the arms wide, turning the feet to parallel. Deep breath. Rotating the right leg out 90 degrees. And into the warrior two. Inner thigh to inner knee to center of the foot. And then we won't do the both arms. We're just going to do the right arm. Inhale and exhale, dancing warrior. We're going to waft this time and then into the triangle, Trikonasana, tilting over. Back to the warrior number two, reaching from the right inner knee to the left hand. And then do that 3 more times. Inhale and exhale, dancing warrior. And into the triangle. You can be on your own timing. Back to the warrior two. And then twice more. And we'll eventually all be back in the warrior number 2. And then we will breathe both arms up overhead, straightening up your right leg, turning that right leg to parallel. And we'll come forward on over into Prasarita Padottanasana, wide apart feet pose. And then lengthening out on tippy fingers. And we're going to twist to the left toward the back leg. So right hand in the center as we twist to the left, being very lifted. And so here we are all pressing our right shoulder to the left, pulling the left shoulder to the right. And letting the right knee bend, letting the right elbow bend. So the right outer knee, though, is pressing toward the front of the mat as your right shoulder presses toward the back. It might not bend very far. That right leg bending is going to be really limited by how much the outer ankle will stretch. And then coming back to the center, straightening up the right leg, taking a few breaths, getting everything nice and symmetrical again. And then to the right lunge, stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa, any versions. Remember, holding the plank, that's a version of the vinyasa. So is child's pose. And then we'll all meet up, downward facing dog. All right, and then here we go. Left side, lifting the left leg. Bending the knee dog at the high fire hydrant. And through to the lunge. Turning to the elephant rider. And then straightening up 3-pointed star, getting whole way down low in the abdomen. Feeling like the pelvic floor draws a little in and up and out the fingertips. Pressing the arms out wide, turning the feet to parallel. Rotating the left leg out 90 degrees. And into the warrior number 2. Unified inner knee to center of the foot. All right, here we go. A little more slowly the first time. Inhale and exhale, dancing warrior. And into the triangle. Inhale and exhale, tilting over, Trikonasana. And as we go back to the warrior 2, connecting the left inner knee to the right hand, we arrive in the warrior 2. And then dancing warrior. Everything flowing together, and yet each point distinct into the triangle. And warrior 2. And then twice more dancing warrior. And triangle. Continuing on your own timing, doesn't matter if we all finish at the same time or not. And we'll all eventually be back in the warrior number 2. And then let's breathe both arms up to straighten that left leg up. Lift a little higher, turning that left foot to parallel, coming forward and over, Prasarita Padottanasana. And then lengthening out on the tippy fingers, or maybe a block. I forgot to say that, but you probably knew. And we're going to twist to the right toward the back of the mat, reaching up with the right arm. We're pulling that right shoulder toward the front of the mat, pressing that left shoulder blade toward the back. And bending the left knee, however much it will go. So that left outer knee is pressing toward the front of the mat, the left shoulder blade pressing toward the back of the mat. And then back to the center. Inhale and exhale, evening things out again. Your body parts might not all feel symmetrical. Your right and left legs might feel different. Same thing with the arms, maybe through the torso, but we can still have that symmetrical, subtle energy. And then turning to the left lunge. Stepping back to the plank. Through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. Eventually downward facing dog. And here we are in this downward facing dog of this moment. And coming down, sitting back in child's pose. Coming up, unfurling the spine. Oh, there's never enough time. So let's calm down to the floor, but there is time for the figure four. Making our way down. Or whatever else you want to do. Taking a moment, arriving here on the floor. Feeling that wonderful ease. And then crossing the right leg over, reaching through the triangle, pulling that in. Nice big round breaths. Setting up your interior self, setting up your mind, your breath for Shavasana. We're still in the figure four though, in a physical body. And then let's switch sides, crossing the left leg over. And then setting that down and into, as happens so often, a short Shavasana. Maybe doing a block under the sacrum if you want. We did a lot of folding and flexing the hip joint with those warrior twos and triangles. But if you want to do that, I would suggest using a lower height of the block. The lying flat also opens the front of the hip joints. All right, so here we are with our infinite time inside ourselves, even though there's rather finite time out there on the phone. Feeling every moment of the inhale, every moment of the exhale.
And taking a stretch overhead with the arms. A little circling wrists and ankles. Bending the knees. Taking that block out if needed. And making your way gently up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable positions with the long and spacious spine. Taking another moment, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.